Not all success stories follow a simple path from struggle to happiness. The life of Michael J. Fox shows how fame, talent, illness, and courage can exist together in the same person. To many people around the world, he will always be the fast-talking teenager Marty McFly from Back to the Future or the ambitious young conservative Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties. He became a symbol of energy, humor, and confidence during the 1980s, a decade that celebrated big personalities and bold dreams. But behind that bright image was a man carrying fears that most of his fans could not see. His journey is not only about disease or tragedy. It is about ambition, denial, addiction, recovery, family, and a new kind of purpose that he never expected to find. Michael was born in Canada in 1961 and grew up in a middle-class family that moved often because of his father's work. From a young age, he knew he wanted to act. He was small in height, but he had a big personality and strong determination. While many teenagers worried about fitting in, he was focused on auditions and small television roles. Eventually, he made a bold choice. He left high school early and moved to Los Angeles to chase his dream. It was not a glamorous beginning. He lived in small apartments, struggled to pay rent, and often worried about where his next meal would come from. There were times when he felt completely alone. Hollywood was not waiting for him with open arms. He had to compete with countless other young actors who were taller, more experienced, or better connected. Still, he refused to give up. That stubborn belief in himself became one of the most important traits of his life. His big break came when he was cast in the television show Family Ties. The role of Alex P. Keaton made him a household name almost overnight. Viewers loved his sharp timing and natural charm. Soon after, he was cast in Back to the Future, a movie that would become one of the most famous films of the decade. During that time, his schedule was extremely demanding. He worked long hours, sometimes filming the sitcom during the day and the movie at night. He slept very little and lived on adrenaline. To the public, he looked unstoppable. But the pressure to maintain success created deep stress. He feared that if he slowed down, the opportunities would disappear. Fame came quickly, and with it came expectations. He was no longer just a young actor chasing a dream. He was now a major star carrying the weight of a career that had exploded faster than anyone expected. In the early 1990s, at the height of his success, everything changed. One morning, he noticed a small twitch in his finger. At first, it seemed minor, but doctors soon gave him life-changing news. At just 29 years old, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a progressive disorder that affects movement. The diagnosis was shocking. Parkinson's is often associated with older age, not someone so young and active. Doctors told him the disease would gradually worsen and could limit his ability to work within a decade. For a man whose identity was built on physical energy and precise timing, this felt devastating. Instead of telling the public, he chose silence. For years, he continued acting while secretly managing symptoms with medication. He adjusted his movements, controlled his hands, and carefully timed his doses to hide tremors. On screen, he appeared confident and steady. Off-screen, he wrestled with fear about the future. Keeping such a heavy secret took an emotional toll. During this period, he began drinking heavily. Alcohol became a way to escape the constant worry about his health. He convinced himself that he could manage both the disease and the drinking. But addiction slowly grew stronger. At home, the impact became clear. He has openly admitted that some early memories with his children are clouded by alcohol. The turning point came one night when his wife, actress Tracy Pollan, found him passed out after drinking. That moment forced him to face the truth. He entered recovery and committed to sobriety. Letting go of alcohol meant facing Parkinson's without distraction. It was painful, but it also marked a new beginning. With support from his wife and family, he began to accept that denial would not protect him. Honesty, though difficult, offered a stronger foundation. After publicly revealing his diagnosis in 1998, many people expected him to step away from the spotlight. Instead, he continued working. He starred in Spin City and earned major awards for his performance. He later appeared in shows such as The Good Wife and Curb Your Enthusiasm, often using humor to address his condition. However, as years passed, the disease progressed. Tremors became stronger. Balance became more difficult. Falls led to injuries. At one point, he required surgery to remove a tumor on his spinal cord, followed by long rehabilitation. There were moments when even his famous optimism felt fragile. Yet, instead of disappearing, he shifted his focus. He founded the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research, which has raised hundreds of millions of dollars to support scientific studies and treatment development. Through public speaking and advocacy, he turned his personal struggle into a mission to help millions of others living with the same disease. Today, Michael J. Fox's story is not defined only by tragedy. It is defined by resilience. He has written memoirs that honestly describe both hope and hardship. He speaks openly about pain, fear, humor, and gratitude. Parkinson's has taken many things from him, including certain physical abilities, but it has not taken his voice or his purpose. His life shows that strength is not about avoiding suffering. It is about continuing forward even when the path changes. The smiling actor from the 1980s is now also known as a powerful advocate for medical research and awareness. His journey reminds us that success is not only measured by awards or fame, but by impact. In facing a disease that tried to limit him, Michael J. Fox found a deeper meaning in his life, one built not just on performance, but on perseverance. As the years moved forward, the daily reality of Parkinson's disease became harder to manage. For Michael J. Fox, the illness was no longer something that could be adjusted quietly between scenes or controlled with careful timing. It became a constant presence. Simple tasks that most people never think about, such as buttoning a shirt, writing a note, or standing up from a chair, required focus and patience. Parkinson's does not move in a straight line. Some days feel stable, while others bring sudden stiffness, shaking, or exhaustion. This unpredictability can be more frustrating than the symptoms themselves. For someone who built his career on sharp timing and physical control, losing that reliability was deeply challenging. Yet, he often speaks about learning to live in the now. Instead of worrying too much about what might happen in 5 or 10 years, he began to focus on getting through each day with honesty and humor. That shift in mindset did not remove pain, but it changed how he responded to it. His family became the center of his strength. His marriage to Tracy Pollan has lasted for decades, something rare in Hollywood. They have spoken openly about how communication and humor help them survive difficult periods. Tracy has often described how she sees Michael not as a patient, but as a partner. This perspective matters. Parkinson's can slowly change the roles within a relationship, and that shift can create emotional strain. But instead of allowing the disease to define their marriage, they chose to face it as a team. Their 4 children also grew up understanding that their father's shaking hands or slower movements were not signs of weakness, but part of a larger story of resilience. Michael has said that becoming a father changed his priorities. Early in his career, success meant landing the next big role or earning another award. After his diagnosis, success began to mean being present for his family, even when being present required extra effort. Public advocacy soon became another important chapter in his life. In 2000, he founded the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research, an organization dedicated to finding better treatments and eventually a cure for the disease. Rather than stepping away from public life, he stepped into it with a new mission. He testified before lawmakers in Washington, asking for increased funding for medical research. He met with scientists, patients, and donors. The foundation has since raised and invested more than $1 billion into research programs around the world. This work has helped speed up drug development and improve understanding of Parkinson's progression. For many patients, his visibility reduced shame and isolation. When a famous actor speaks openly about tremors and medication schedules, it changes how society views the disease. It moves Parkinson's from the shadows into public conversation. His willingness to show vulnerability made others feel less alone. Despite his advocacy and optimism, the physical challenges continued. Falls became more common as balance grew weaker. Broken bones and hospital stays interrupted normal routines. At one point, after spinal surgery to remove a benign tumor, he had to relearn how to walk with stability. Rehabilitation required patience and humility. He has described how spending time in a wheelchair affected him emotionally. Being pushed rather than walking independently can change how a person feels about their own identity. For someone who once ran across movie sets and performed energetic scenes, this adjustment was painful. There were moments when even his famous positive attitude seemed to crack. He has admitted that he once questioned whether constant optimism was realistic. Could every hardship truly carry a lesson? Over time, he came to a more balanced view. Instead of forcing positivity, he began accepting that some days are simply hard. That acceptance, he explains, is not defeat. It is honesty. Writing became one of his most important creative outlets. Since Parkinson's limited some of his physical activities, he turned to words. Through his memoirs, he shared detailed reflections about fear, addiction, gratitude, and hope. His books do not pretend that everything is fine. Instead, they show a man learning to adapt again and again. Readers often say they appreciate his direct and simple style. He avoids overly dramatic language and instead focuses on truth. That straightforward voice reflects maturity. In his younger years, he tried to outrun problems with work or alcohol. In later years, he chose reflection. By documenting his journey, he created a record not only of suffering but of growth. Each chapter of his life reveals a shift from denial to acceptance, from fear to action, from private struggle to public advocacy. Today, when people look at Michael J. Fox, they see more than the energetic star of the 1980s. They see a man who has lived through dramatic change and continues to move forward. Parkinson's disease has progressed over the decades, affecting speech and memory in addition to movement. Acting became more difficult, and he eventually stepped away from regular television roles. But stepping away did not mean disappearing. Interviews, speeches, and foundation work keep his voice present in public life. His story reminds us that tragedy and triumph can exist together. Illness may change the body, but it does not erase character. Through determination, honesty, and humor, he transformed what could have been only a heartbreaking decline into a meaningful second act focused on service and connection. As time continued to pass, the meaning of success changed once again for Michael J. Fox. In his early years, success meant applause, ratings, and box office numbers. During the height of Back to the Future and Family Ties, he was part of pop culture history. Fans quoted his lines, dressed like his characters, and saw him as a symbol of youth and energy. But decades later, success became something quieter and more personal. It meant waking up and choosing to engage with the world despite stiffness and fatigue. It meant answering emails about research funding, attending meetings about clinical trials, and encouraging young scientists who were working toward breakthroughs. It meant laughing at his own tremors during interviews instead of hiding them. That shift shows how deeply his priorities evolved. Fame once gave him identity. Now purpose gives him identity. One of the most powerful parts of his journey is how openly he talks about fear. Many public figures try to appear strong at all times. Michael chose a different path. He admitted that there were nights when anxiety kept him awake, wondering how quickly Parkinson's would progress. He spoke about moments of frustration when his body would not respond the way he wanted. He acknowledged sadness when he realized he could no longer perform certain activities he once loved, such as playing music or dancing freely. By sharing these honest emotions, he made his story more human. Strength does not mean pretending everything is fine. In his case, strength meant facing uncomfortable truths and still moving forward. His transparency has helped change how society talks about chronic illness. Instead of viewing it only as weakness, people now see it as a complex experience that includes courage, humor, and adaptation. His foundation work continues to expand. The Michael J. Fox Foundation collaborates with research institutions across the world, funding studies that explore new medications, surgical techniques, and even genetic factors connected to Parkinson's. Clinical trials have become more advanced and data collection is more organized than ever before. Patients can now participate in research programs from their own homes using digital tools. This progress did not happen by accident. It required steady leadership and public attention. When a well-known actor stands in front of lawmakers or donors and speaks from personal experience, it adds urgency to scientific efforts. His role has become that of a bridge between the medical community and everyday families affected by the disease. He cannot control how Parkinson's affects his body, but he can influence how the world responds to it. That sense of contribution offers meaning beyond personal struggle. Even with these achievements, daily life remains challenging. Parkinson's often affects speech clarity and memory. In recent interviews, he has acknowledged that remembering long passages of dialogue became increasingly difficult. For an actor who built his reputation on quick delivery and sharp comedic timing, this was a painful realization. Eventually, he made the decision to step back from regular acting roles. This was not because he lost love for the craft, but because he respected it too much to continue when he could not perform at the level he expected of himself. Letting go of a lifelong passion can feel like losing a part of oneself. Yet he approached this transition with realism rather than bitterness. He understood that careers have seasons, and his had entered a new one. Instead of chasing past glory, he focused on present impact. Looking back over his life, it becomes clear that the word tragedy tells only part of the story. Yes, Parkinson's disease brought pain, addiction struggles, surgeries, and physical decline. But it also revealed hidden strengths. It strengthened his marriage to Tracy Pollan, deepened his connection with his children, and gave him a mission that extends beyond entertainment. It taught him patience and perspective. He often says that gratitude is not about ignoring hardship. It is about recognizing what remains meaningful even during hardship. His laughter during interviews, even when his hands shake, sends a powerful message. It shows that dignity can exist alongside vulnerability. Today, Michael J. Fox stands as more than a former movie star. He represents endurance in the face of uncertainty. He shows that while illness can change the body, it does not have to erase hope or usefulness. His story encourages people to rethink what it means to live well. Living well does not require perfect health or endless success. It requires honesty, connection, and the willingness to adapt. Through decades of change, he has done exactly that. The fairy tale may not have unfolded as expected, but the ending is not defined by loss alone. It is defined by impact, love, and the courage to keep going when the spotlight fades and real life begins. In recent years, Michael J. Fox has spoken more openly than ever about the long-term reality of living with Parkinson's disease. After more than 3 decades with the condition, he understands its patterns, but he also knows it can still surprise him. He has explained that Parkinson's is like an uninvited guest who rearranges your house without warning. Some mornings begin with stiffness that makes it hard to stand. Other days bring unpredictable